You know I love a good journaling prompt. This video is part of the Managing the Holidays series if you're single and childless, not by choice. So the holidays are hard. They're hard for most people, and they can also be fun. Now, it's a little harder to access the fun when you have a lot of stressors or you're going through something really difficult or experiencing a lot of grief. And these prompts are meant to help you drill down a little bit and intentionally think about how do you want to spend the holidays. So the holidays can be really emotional, and when emotions are high, we often lose sight of the things that we want to do, and instead we just kind of turn our brain off a little bit in order to help cope with the flood of emotions, and instead we just go into reaction mode. For some of us, that looks really intense, and for others of us, we do the opposite. We actually kind of unplug and we just go along with the flow. So when you're single and childless, not by choice, sometimes the people around you just assume you're just going to go along with what everyone else is doing. Sometimes in certain family dynamics, it's hard because you might have one vote when this family of five might have 5 votes, right? And sometimes maybe we're just feeling so griefy and triggered that we just keep quiet because that's the easiest for us to do in order to contain and manage our own feelings of sadness and sometimes anger. So these journaling prompts are meant for the single and childless, not by choice person, or a combination of that. They're meant to help you take a moment to consider your holidays and ways to be intentional about creating the time and space doing the things that you want to do, whether that's 10 things or even whether that's 1 or 2 things. We want to make sure that you're setting aside some time to intentionally identify those things and come up with a plan. So even though you're single, even though you don't have kids, you're still able to do some of the things around the holidays that you enjoy doing. So let's get to the journaling prompts. All right, the first one is on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best and 1 being the worst. Think about how am I feeling about the holidays this year on that scale, and then journal a little bit about why you think you're feeling that way. The next one is, let's just say the answer to number 1 was a 6 on that scale. So the next thing I want you to do is think about why am I not a 7 on that scale? So whatever number you came up with number 1, I want you to consider why am I not 1 more up on that scale? So if you chose a 6, then I want you to think about why am I not a 7? What would need to be different for me to be feeling a 7 instead of a 6? And number 2, now I want you to consider why you aren't 1 under on that scale. For example, let's say in question number 1, you chose a 6 on that scale. So for this journaling prompt, I want you to think about why are you not a 5 on that scale? I want you to think about it, and I want you to journal about why that is. So if you were a 6 in number 1, why are you not a 5? All right, the next journaling prompt is, how do you want to feel this holiday season? Be specific. Use feeling words. If you need to pull out a list of feeling words, if you need to Google feeling words and then review some of those, I want you to do that. We often think about feelings as angry, happy, sad. There are more, and really around being single and childless around the holidays, definitely those are a part of it, but you may notice that there are some more nuanced feelings as well that you might want to also feel. So journal about how do you want to feel this holiday season. So the next prompt has a couple of questions jammed into one. How would I know if I'm feeling this way? What would my thoughts be if I were feeling this way? What would I be doing if I were feeling this way? And how would I be interacting with others if I were feeling this way? The next prompt is, what do I want my boundaries to be this holiday season? This one you may need to spend a little time considering and writing in order for clarity. So it's okay if you write a lot on this one because that might help you really suss out and identify what you do want your boundaries to be. The next writing prompt, how would I respond, or how do I want to respond if those boundaries are crossed? Have a plan. Also, think about and write about what questions can I ask ahead of time in order to see or consider if this situation is in alignment with the boundaries that I've identified I need this holiday season. Okay, I've got more for you. What are 2 to 3 activities I want to do this holiday season? These activities don't have to be a really massive thing. It doesn't have to be spending a whole day doing something, spending a lot of money on something. Maybe it's, you know what? I want to go drive around my neighborhood and look at the lights. I want to make sure I get a holiday drink from Starbucks once a week. Think about what you want to do. You can think about big things, medium things, and small scale things. You know what you most likely have capacity for. After identifying those things, then I want you to journal a little bit about when can I do those things? And what do I need to do in order to make sure those things happen? So is there any preparation you need to do? Maybe there's not. And what is something you can do that is likely to increase the chance that you will prioritize 1 or 2 of these things? Now I want you to spend some time journaling about how would I encourage a friend or a loved one if they were experiencing difficult time or grief around the holidays? What would you say to them? What would you do for them? How would you interact with them? How much would you be encouraging them or supporting them? So go through kind of the who, what, when, where, and how of that question. So I'll repeat it. If you had a friend or a loved one who is experiencing a really difficult holiday or experiencing grief around this holiday, how do you think you would go about supporting them? Be specific. Now, the last question is, how can I use the different information that I just journaled about to support myself and to give myself grace around this holiday? So think about, how do you want to feel? What do you need to do in order to feel that way? What are the specific activities that you want to engage in? How would you support somebody? And then turn that around, and instead of it being toward a friend, do that for yourself. This is hard. These journaling prompts aren't meant to just poof, all the grief is gone. However, it is about taking some time to be intentional with your needs as well. Because again, when we're feeling a lot of grief around certain times, for some of us, we tend to just go inward. We tend to block off our thoughts. We tend to block off our needs and wants, because sometimes it's the path of least resistance. And if you're in that space, I completely understand that. And maybe you need that for this year. If not, if you're ready to maybe go a little bit of a step forward or a few steps forward, consider these journaling prompts. Let me know what prompts you think might be helpful for others and share them in our community in the comments below. And check out my Managing the Holidays playlist and subscribe to Sandra's Sisterhood, which is a YouTube channel for the single and childless, not by choice person.